Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. I was warned that this was going to be a good episode. So, on Discord today, I had several people, and I've not gone Twitter too much today because I didn't want to see spoilers for the new episode of Yao and Su She, but there were some people on the Discord that were like, it's a great episode, so I'm like, I'm so excited, and I had stuff to do today, so it's the night is upon us, everything's calming down for the evening, and I'm like, look, I didn't have anything planned, but I'm gonna watch Yao and Su She. So this whole season has been so good. We're already on episode 5. How are we already on episode 5? We're almost halfway through the season, and I'm not ready for it. But honestly, a lot of stuff has happened, so I feel like these episodes have not messed around. Now, last episode we had a lot of WangXian shenanigans, which I'm all for. We had a lot of that going on. So the plot kind of moved along. We got a little bit with the innkeeper talking about the temple being set up, that some influential person, I think it's Yao, that set it up. And the reason why I think that, I don't know if I commented much on the reaction, but on Twitter I talked a little bit about it. But the courtesan, the spirit in the temple that's kind of dancing around that WuXian saw, I'm wondering if it's Yao's mother. I'm wondering because Yao's mom, I believe, was a common woman. She wasn't anything to write home about in terms of having a prestigious family or anything. So I'm curious if maybe Daddy Jin went to the temple or went to the old brothel before it was a temple and had his way with one of the courtesans and that she's Yao's mother. Could be. I know a lot of people on Twitter are either thinking that theory or thinking that the temple is where Daddy Jin died, because as we know, Daddy Jin died during the throes of passionate love. So I think it's the former, though, because we've got to at some point tie back to Yao. We've not really had present day Yao in this story at all. We've seen like a hand on the box with the tiger amulet in it. We've seen a hand, and we've seen him in a flashback with Yang, and that's been it. Yao has been surprisingly absent from this season, him and WangXian, and I know from the trailer that we've eventually got to get some more stuff with him. We have to have that paper doll thing and him looking through the window looking scary as hell, so we've got to have those moments. So I'm just waiting for that all to unravel. So maybe we're going to get some of that in the next couple episodes. I just felt like last episode, we got the thing with the temple. We established that the people that maybe Su She are working for, they got Yang's body back, are trying to keep WuXian. There's an array over the area, and they want the array gone. But the array's been sealed by something, and they tried to get WuXian to undo the array, and then it just didn't work out. But I'm so curious. And then WuXian, of course, just gave them a fake trail of a seal remover, but it had a linking spell to it so you could follow them. And then, of course, at the very end of the episode, we got somebody looking at all the papers. I think it's WangXian. All the mystery, all the questions. Like I've said with these episodes, I can't wait to go back and read the novel and see the audio drama and see everything that's been condensed or cut out unfold in full. It's going to be, especially the WangXian stuff. Like we all know why we're here. So it's been wonderful seeing Wanji being so intimate and delicate is just absolutely adorable, and I love it. Seeing WuXian being oblivious and then trying to flirt with Wanji and tease him, and then it backfire horrendously is all great. And then of course we have our ducklings, as they're proclaimed, all the disciples that are just having to deal with it all and be the fourth wheels, the third and fourth wheels. And then Ling, poor Ling, him too. I really feel sad that WuXian can't just come out and say that he is WuXian. That as far as Ling knows, it's Mojang, which has to be odd for everyone involved, because if they don't know it's WuXian, then Wanji's flirting around with Mojang, which looks odd, right? But we know it's WuXian, so we just assume that it's like a ghost situation, like the movie Ghost, where it's WuXian in the body of Mojang. So we know that. Wanji knows that. But I'm sure the disciples and Ling are like, what the heck is going on? Especially, I'm curious because WuXian is in Mojang body, how Yao is going to react to that, because we got little previews of that in season 2, that Yao was like, you're not acting like my brother. So it's like, ugh. So I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop on that. But yeah, y'all told me this was a good episode, so I am pretty excited. So with that being said, we are going to get into episode 5 of Yao and Su She. Let's do this, shall we? We are going to start episode 5 of Yao and Su She. 24 minutes, so a little bit longer than the last episode, which is good. I'm all about it. but we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Oh, buddy. This episode was crazy. I feel like the first 3 episodes was like bam, 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 and especially episode 3. There was a lot of exposition, a lot of things happening, and then episode 4 was like, okay, take a breath. Now we're going to plunge you back into the ice water in episode 5. Because, y'all have done an amazing job, by the way. I want you all to pat yourselves on the back because we are 3 seasons into this, and I am like 28 chapters of a novel into this. Had no clue Yao had a wife, had no clue he had a son, had no clue that child was murdered. That was a surprise. And I'm still trying to know what to do with that information because there was a lot in this episode to process. And the good thing is that it wasn't like an exposition dump like episode 3 where I needed to go back and rewatch everything to get a context. No, everything made sense. It's just like, oh, we need to unpack this. We need to unpack this. We need to unpack this. And the longer the episode went on, I was like, yeah, we're going to have to go back and watch this again. But holy cow. So I feel like, here's the thing too. I've noticed this since episode 1 of season 3, is that there is a lot of content that I can just tell from watching. After reading the novel up to the point that I have, I can tell that there's stuff being left out. And that's okay. It has me really excited because I'm pretty sure the stuff that's being left out is the spicy stuff. I can't believe how much we got away with this episode. Censors be damned. I couldn't believe what all we got away with in this episode. Like, no subtext anymore. It's that, throw that word out the window. It is all context. It is all, this is straight up romance with zombies and demonic cultivation. I am all here for it, but there's so much that happens in this episode. Don't think I don't remember about the forehead ribbon. Do not think. So I want to point out that whoever is behind, whoever was sitting in the chair, and I want to, see, here's the thing, the robes, those are Hui Seng's robes, right? But that's not Hui Seng sitting there. It's not. I don't think it is. That smile does not, the hair, it's not them. I don't know. This is so frustrating. So frustrating. I like that the sake's still warm. It's such a trope, and I actually really love it. I love that WuXian's detective skills would involve him realizing if sake was still warm. Amazing. But yeah, the person being careful, making sure that they get out of there really quick. Yeah, so we don't know who it is. Of course not. And of course, Wangji's still drunk, which is great, and his forehead ribbon's all sideways. And then WuXian's like, well, why don't you just take it off? Ha 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 ha. And he does. Oh, but y'all, way back in season 1, we established that you don't take off the forehead ribbon. That is, the forehead ribbon is there for a lover or a spouse to take off only. You don't do it unless you are by yourself or your spouse is with you. So basically, WangXian are married, and it's canon. I just, how we got from point A to point B, because we got Wangji taking off the forehead ribbon, and WuXian's like, Lazan, and then, what are you trying to do? And of course, Wangji established, she's like, I'm taking you back to Gusu. And him just showing up with him bound with the forehead ribbon. I cannot, y'all. I'm just floored. These poor kids getting drunk. Y'all aren't old enough. They established that Emperor Smile's really strong. Y'all aren't old enough to be drinking that stuff. If Wangji got drunk off 1 cup, Jingyi and Sizhui should not be drinking it at all. And I think Sizhui ignores it for the most part. And of course, Ling having to, accept a challenge. And of course, Sizhui is the only smart one of the group. He's eating rice and eating food while they drink because you're supposed to do that so that you don't get drunk and you don't get hungover. Sizhui is the smart one of the group. Ling and Jingxi share a brain cell, but they're so chaotic, I kind of like them together. It's great. And then, of course, Jingyi is like, well, even if Wangji was here, I'd still drink all this. And then I just love that WangXian just walks right through with WuXian tied up, and WuXian's trying his best to resolve the situation and be like, it's not what it looks like. Kids, this is okay. Uncle WangXian is just a little tipsy. And then, no. And also seeing WangXian without his forehead ribbon is, it's so problematic. I need him to have it back on. And Ling doesn't understand what's going on, but Jingyi gets the memo real quick. And it's like, this is, you don't just tie people up with that. This is pretty sacred. And WuXian's just randomly tied up with it. Like, Jingyi is just, you can't do that. Shishui's like, eat this chicken leg, leave him alone. He's like, I didn't know it could be used that way. Shishui, you are a man among men. I love it. And then WuXian being like, when you sober up WangXian, you are going to be in for a world of hurt. And of course he can't get out of it instantly. Here's the part that I think the novel's going to expand upon is WuXian getting drug up to the room. Oh, y'all. I ever since the season started, I've been like, I can't wait for the novel. I can't wait for the novel. And it's going to be a good time. I'm so excited, y'all. Oh, my God. And saying that he likes rabbits. And WuXian asking how you recognize him. And, of course, he's not going to tell him about the flute. Even in a drunken state, he's like, not going to tell you. He's like, just tell me. But then we have that the zombie got out, and that snaps WangXian out to save his husband from getting, smacked in the face by a zombie. And then Jishin shows up. And the look on Jishin's face when he looks over and sees WuXian struggling with the forehead ribbon, it is the most amazing expression. It's like your sibling walking in. It's like a sibling walking into their other sibling, like in the throes of passion, and then being like, why am I here? It's so good. Oh my God. And of course it takes all three of them to suppress zombie. And so have we pretty much confirmed that it's the Elder Knee brother? Have we pretty much confirmed it? I think we have at this point. I feel like we've confirmed it. Because Zishin was not happy about the zombie. It was not happy about the implication. And the way that he was swinging the sword around was like that of a saber. And we've established that only certain people know how to use sabers. It would make sense if it was the Elder Knee brother. But then the question is, who, slaughtered the soul of the Elder Knee brother? It could be Yao. Who did that? Who did all this stuff? If Yang's involved, why Yang? How is he tied into the Elder Knee brother? Where's Huiseng fit into all of this? It's just very curious, but the fact that we might have got confirmation it's the Elder Knee brother, that solves a lot. I've been debating that, for a long time. I thought it was either the Elder Knee brother or it was Ruhan's eldest son. Not Chao, but the other one. I thought it was either one of those two. So the fact that we're pretty much getting confirmed that it's the Elder Knee brother is interesting. Very interesting. And poor Zishin doesn't want to admit that it's him, because that would imply that Yao would be involved, because they established that the corpse is only going after people with Jin blood, which would be Mo Jianyu and Ling. So the fact that it's going after them is just... And okay, real quick, him correcting the hair on WangXian and putting him to bed. When we had episode 4, I was like, oh, that scene wasn't in the trailer. But we got this one, and WuXian just looking so softly at him. I like the fact that Jishin and WuXian have a conversation. I really like that they're together having this conversation seriously. And the question is, does Jishin know that it's WuXian, or does he still think it's Mo Jianyu? And he looks so disheartened, like that little glimmer in his eye, like he doesn't believe that Yao would betray them or do anything awful. And he says he doesn't know who tore the soul to pieces, but it's like, I think the person who tore the soul to pieces was Yang, but I think he was working with Yao. And Su She's involved in this somehow. But there's so many actions that happen in this episode that call everything into question. So yeah, only Baby Ling and him were attacked, and that was the blood of Jin, and it runs in both of our veins. So, and then Jishin saying it can't be him. And then they say the annual discussion's going to be held soon. And if everything goes as expected, the truth will soon be revealed. Oh, so everything's going down at this big gathering. Oh my gosh, at Jinlintai. Oh my god, I love it. And these damn escalators, these cool spiritual escalators just carried everybody up like a big carriage. I like that the elder brother Jishin is kind of like a third wheel. Is a third wheel to WuXian and Wangji. And that little scoot when Wangji scoots closer to when WuXian scoots closer to Wangji, adorable. I cannot even. I'm just like, okay. Because he sees the forehead ribbon waving and he's like, so what's the purpose of the forehead ribbon? And I love that Wangji's like, you copied the rules down how many times and you still don't remember? WuXian's like, it's been a while. I've been through some things since then. But the smiles from Wangji this episode, the smiles, the actions. Poor Jishin's like a third wheel. It's so great. And him grabbing the forehead ribbon and Wangji like takes it slowly back. He seems so disappointed that he didn't remember the rules. Oh, I love it. But we've established WuXian's memory is not that great. So, bless his heart, he can't help it. Oh my gosh. So, of course, all the clans are here, and that includes old Chang. And yeah, and WuXian trying to chide Wangji by asking him if he remembered what he said while he was drunk. I'm surprised he didn't tell him about the surname thing, but maybe, And then, of course, the one thing WuXian remembers is that you really like rabbits. And Wangji's like, God, why? Why do I love you? So, yeah, I love also that WuXian hides behind Wangji constantly during this. And then Yao appears. And that hat on Yao, he just needs to strip the hat. He's actually really pretty, but he just needs to get rid of the hat. I like the long hair on Yao. He just needs to ditch the hat. And then, of course, Baby Ling is hiding behind him. Poor Ling with all of his uncles. All of his uncles. Uncle Yao, Uncle Chang, Uncle WuXian, Uncle Mo Jianyu, Uncle Wangji. All the uncles are present for poor Baby Ling. And I love it. I like that Ling hides behind Yao to get off the hook from Chang. Like, definitely playing so he doesn't get punished. And then he notices a WuXian. And I love WuXian. I love Ling's like, why are you here? WuXian's like, for a free meal. And gives the wink. The, like, WandaVision wink. It's very, oh my gosh. I love it. So, Yao is a complicated character. And I don't know how to read him at this point. I really, really don't. Because, here's what's complicated. At first, in the last season, when we ended season 2, Yao seemed very, very suspicious of Mo Jianyu, which makes sense because he's known Mo Jianyu, and since WuXian was in his body, he was acting differently. And so Yao was like, what the heck? And so, knowing that Yao, I don't know, it's so complicated because I feel like Yao maybe had a soft spot for Yang and let him go because he didn't want Yang imprisoned in the first place. So I wonder if back in the flashback that he let Yang go and then all this shit went down and he was like, well, that was a bad decision. And so he tried to rectify it. It didn't work. And so now that he's come back, he's trying to get him back. I don't know. Because on the one hand, Yao kind of absolves Mo Jianyu from all of his transgressions. He's like, he's my brother, and Zidian was wrong, so we'll just leave it at that. So he doesn't try to get WuXian arrested or try to corner him or anything. And he seems really kind to Ling, like he gave Yiling Fairy, and he's like, but then you see him, like, everybody walks away, and he instantly, his expression totally changes, and he looks like a crafty bitch. And I'm like, why? And then you see him go over to this clan. And what was that clan's name? I want to go back. I just accidentally clicked away from it. What was that clan's name? So Sushi. Old Sushi showing up. Oh, the Su clan of Mo Ling. Never heard of it. The Su clan. And it's Sushi. And him showing up and giving Yao the gift. And WuXian's the only one that notices him. And he's like, I think I've seen that person before. It's like, you have seen him. It's Sushi from back at the Water Ghoul episode. He's the one that shot you with the arrow in the cave. And he has connections to the Lan Clan. Oh my gosh. I can't. My theory is if Su She was helping Daddy Jin out while he was still in the Lan Clan, and that's why he has the blue robes on in the flashbacks of Wen Ning. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, but how are Yao and him besties? Are they friends? Is Yao just trying to weed out Su She and expose him so that he can punish him? Is Yao just like misunderstood? I love the idea of them eating together and Wanji putting the food on his plate and taking the food away. Like, show. I know a lot of you commented about Chinese culture and like signs of being married and things like that. I'm like, show, you are really just skirting around the edges as much as you want, and I'm here for it. I also love that WuXian's like, so if I act really flamboyant and weird, don't judge me, but I'm trying to not reveal that I'm, WuXian. And then he's just sitting there drinking sake like it's nobody's business. So, Yao's also married. What the heck? What? If you had asked me about a character being married in this show and who I thought was married, the last person I would have told you would have been Yao. But I guess I kind of see it because he's the supreme clan leader, so I guess they're supposed to have maybe a traditional marriage structure. I don't know. She's very pretty. She seems really distraught and tortured by the fact that their son died. But yeah, Kin Su. And so WuXian being like, Kin Su, the daughter of Qin Kangyi, his subordinate. Yeah, so the one that had a problem with the marriage. Yeah, because of Yao's heritage. Yao wasn't a true-born son, right? But they got married anyway. And so there's the big conference. And then, of course, they suspect that WuXian's back. And WuXian's like, I'm not going to say anything. And Wanji's like, don't say a word. I love this guy sitting next to Su She. And Su She's like, who? Like, questioning. And then, of course, everybody gets really quiet when he says the Yiling Patriarch. And they say the ghost journal was summoned by him and appeared on Daffin Mountain. But Su She says the person who summoned the ghost general was not the Yiling Patriarch. And they're like, well, who else could it be? So, is he looking at WuXian when he says this? I'm so curious. Su She is so suspicious. Yao is so suspicious. We haven't got much focus on Hui Sang, but... and poor baby Ling is just sitting there. Yeah, he's just like... scratching his head with the fan. And then, of course, Yao says, well, the purple lightning makes no mistake, so my brother's innocent has been proven. And WuXian's like, thanks? Like, that look on WuXian's face is like, gee, thanks for clearing my name at this discussion over dinner, but okay. And then everybody just kind of accepts it because he's the head clan leader. Shit's about to go down, isn't it? You've got all the clan leaders gathered in this one convenient location. Everything's about to go down, isn't it? And well, here's the problem. Okay, they let the disciple from the one clan go back, which is great. And we see Hui Sang and Jishin and Yao together. And then I love WuXian's little note I'll head outside first. And I love Wanji's little smile at that. He's like, my husband's so smart. Here's the thing, though. This is the problem. If they're trying to weed WuXian out, it would be really easy for them to cause a massacre with all these clan leaders. And if Su She can do demonic cultivation, if they've somehow got Yang here doing demonic, like his fierce corpse or something, if that's here and they cause a big chaotic disturbance, then yeah, WuXian may have to use demonic cultivation to try to help, and that's going to weed him out as being the Yiling Patriarch. I'm amazed that Chang has been super quiet throughout this entire meeting, because Chang has a bad temper. So maybe Chang is actually trying to keep WuXian safe, which would be an interesting change of pace. That he actually wants to protect his brother, so he's not saying anything. I'm curious. There's so much that I know the novel's going to expand upon, and I just want to know. But it's too soon. It's too soon for all that, right? So I love the scene that is... I thought that instantly WuXian was going to meet up with Wanji, but no, we have these douche lords from the Jin clan that try to provoke him and Ling into fighting. And I like that Ling stands up for Mo Jianyu. I think after this episode, there's a part of me that's like, Ling knows that it's WuXian. He knows it's not Mo Jianyu anymore. But then there's a part of me that's really sad because I'm like, he said you wouldn't lie to me. And WuXian hasn't lied to him. WuXian has not said it's not him. WuXian said, what do you think? So WuXian technically didn't lie, but it's kind of a lie because he didn't just come out and say yes. And I'm afraid that it's going to like backfire on WuXian and that Ling's going to figure out it is him and be like, why didn't you tell me? And get all mad about it. But I love that they have this bonding moment and WuXian gets to be an uncle and teach his nephew how to fight. I find it curious that Yao tells him not to fight. I guess that's just Yao trying to protect him, maybe? I don't know. But WuXian struggling to be Mojang Yu and also be himself is kind of hilarious. Because he's like, what do I do? And then Ling's like, well, I'll just take you guys on. I love him rolling up his sleeves. And the geese metaphor. But they had such a sweet moment of bonding. And then Ling running off. It's so sad. Because WuXian just wants to connect with his nephew that he's not been there for 13 years. And now he has the chance to. And he can't even tell him it's really him. I think Ling knows. And I think Ling's just kind of doesn't want to say it or admit it. And WuXian doesn't want to say it or admit it because then that's going to open a big can of worms with his parents. So it's just easier to not do that. Oh, so hard. So a lot of talk in this episode about parents, about family bonds, about blood ties and friendships, like Xishan not wanting to admit that Yao was betraying them not wanting to admit that it's the Elder Ni clan brother's corpse, WuXian trying to help baby Ling, the talks about Chang, trying to root out the Yiling Patriarch, WangXian and his brother, and of course WangXian and WuXian, and then we have Yao and his wife and their son who was murdered. And so I want to go back to that part because that's really... Right before we get to that whole discussion, there's so much that happened in this episode. I do want to talk about, what does he say? WuXian's conversation. I got to backtrack just for a second. Where he was like, never mind. And I love that expression on WuXian where he's like, what do you think? If you think it's me. And Ling's like, never mind. And the CGI and animation is gorgeous there. He's like, I doubt you have the guts to lie to me. Stop bothering Uncle Yao. He's like, don't worry, I moved on long from him. Which is kind of disturbing because that's your brother. It's like, WuXian, come on, buddy. Come on. And then Ling's like, bye from the stables? Jin from the fish pond? Or is it my fairy? And WuXian's like, seriously, your dog? Let's be real. And he's like, don't you remember what I said on the mountain? And this is the most blatant text of the episode where he's like, my type is someone like WangXian. And then of course Ling is like, but WangXian, no, I'll take my leave. And you think he's getting flustered because he doesn't want to like think of WuXian with WangXian, but the reality is WangXian was right behind him. He's like, who do you think you're fooling? And let it be known that WangXian can make a joke. Let it be known where he's like, don't worry. Where he's like, oh my god. Where he's like, don't worry. I've long moved on. And it's like, I love it. I love it. So we get established here that WuXian's like, well, Ling is always alone. He doesn't have someone by his side to help him fight and learn things. Doesn't Yao have a son or daughter that's close to his age? And WangXian's like, Yao had a son, but the child was murdered and passed away at a young age. And WuXian's like, oh, well, that's the Jin clan leader's kid. It can't be that easy to have murdered him. And they say it's the observation towers. That he was killed at one of the observation towers. But here's the weird part with that. If he was killed at the observation towers, we've established that Yao wanted more of those towers to keep being built. If your child was murdered at that tower, why would you want to make more of them? Like, as a parent, not just as a Jin clan leader or the leader of the cultivation sects, but as a parent, if your child died in one of these structures, why would you want to keep building more of them? Doesn't that seem weird? That seems weird to me. And WuXian asks, was he killed by one of the opposing clans? What happened to them after that? And WangXian says the entire clan was wiped out. Not surprising, because if your kid died, yeah, that would be expected revenge. And then we cut away. But, so the question is, what clan killed child. What clan killed the child? And if they were wiped out, why is this all coming back? Huh? And then we go back to the palace, and someone that's there with all of them, I don't know who yet, is giving Kinsu a note that said your son's death was not. So what we don't know is what the rest of that note said. We don't know if your son's death was not a murder, or wasn't something. This was not unknown to Yao. Like, I don't want to think about Yao as having some part in his own son's murder. That's just pretty grisly and disturbing. But at the same time, I have so many questions. This show has answered questions about the Knee brother, about us going to the big discussion forum that's happening at the palace. Like, questions have been slowly answered, but then more questions keep piling up to replace them. And so the whole thing with Yao's son, I feel, is pretty important to this whole story. And it makes sense now why Yao spoils Ling, because he doesn't have a son to spoil. So Ling is like his nephew. It's the closest thing. Y'all, this episode has been a lot to wrap my brain around. There's a lot of crazy things to think about, and I'm sure in the comments you guys will point out even more things for me to think about. But I'm so intrigued, y'all. I am so intrigued. So I'm curious to know what you all think of this episode. Yao and WangXian are still suspicious. Su She is by far the most suspicious one here that's there. And then if we could have, if the rest of the season could be episodes like this, where we balance the WangXian moments with all this crazy dramatic mystery and thriller stuff, I'm on board with that. So I just don't know. So I guess we'll find out. Next week is the halfway point of the season. Insane, right? How are we here? How are we at the halfway point? I don't know. But I'm not ready for it to be halfway over. I am excited to get back into the novel and the audio drama, but I'm not excited for this series to be over. So we still got half a season. It's fine. Everything's good. But in the meantime, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Please, no spoilers. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And I'll be back next week with more WuXian. Bye.